Hey, everybody, welcome to the Simplified Church podcast. We are so excited to have you with us. We're doing things a little bit differently today, and we are live for the first time ever. And so we're super excited about that. And getting to have real conversation with no second takes. So
Zero.
Unfiltered today, folks. Or something like that.
I guess. Well, maybe a little filtered, maybe just a little bit.
Josh just had a panic attack.
Yeah, he got real nervous. He's, oh no, man. That's not the way I wanted to get monetized. That's not how I want to go viral.
But in all reality, we are so grateful that you've joined us, and we're excited about the conversation that we're going to get to have today. But as always, we're going to take just a moment and connect. I'm joined by my friend, my partner in ministry, and the co-hostess with the mostest, Mike Whittemore. How are you, my friend?
What's up, my man? Dude, I'm doing really good, man. It's an exciting time in the studio right now, bro. Like sporting some new gear. We've got the new Rode mic hooked up. And got the new ATs on the, rocking these guys. It sounds pretty good in here. But man, I'm good, buddy. Just, plugging away, man. I'm excited for Super Bowl Sunday coming up. I can't wait. I love football, man. So
are you actually going to watch the game, or are you in it for the snacks?
No, well, come on. I'm always in it for the snacks. Like the answer is always yes to that. It didn't take a whole lot to get me excited about snacks, but great food whilst watching a great game interspersed with sometimes great commercials.
Oh yeah.
Man, like that's a win-win right there. So
for sure, man,
I'm excited.
And I'm telling you, like, I loved being a youth guy, but I love Super Bowl season a whole lot more not being a youth guy.
Oh man, it's a game changer, dude.
It is, because I no longer have to endure CC's pizza or Little Caesars pizza, because it's all you can afford to feed all of those students on Super Bowl Sunday. And now I can eat, pizza that tastes like pizza and wings that taste like wings. Mike's
Greg,
looking at me like I just stepped on his dog.
It's a good thing this is live right now. Okay. You just besmirched, defamed two of the most consistent and affordable pizza chains out there. First off, I love CC's pizza. I love it. Is it good? No. Is there a lot of it? Yes. Do they have delicious cheese bread? Uh-huh. I love CC's pizza. So I'm going to let that one go. I get it. It's not for everybody. But then you're going to sit here in front of God and everybody, and you're going to say Little Caesars isn't good? Are you kidding me? Have you had the pretzel crust pizza? Look, we're not even getting into an episode today. You know what? We're abandoning. We're not even going to talk about ministry stuff. We're not looking to simplify your life in ministry today. What we're trying to do is get Greg right with the Lord. That's what we're trying to do. And
welcome
have him
to the
walk
intervention.
back. Yeah, have him walk back this sin he just so blatantly displayed. I love Little Caesars, dude. It's delicious, man. Are you kidding me? There ain't nothing better than what used to be a hot and ready $5 pizza. Now, because of, inflation and all that jazz going on, it's like an $8 pizza. But it's still a good pizza. But you know what? I'm going to let it go. I'm going to take the high road on this one. That's fine. That's fine. And this week, don't be surprised when I send you a picture of me eating both on Super Bowl Sunday.
Hey,
I'm going to make a delicious pizza sandwich.
There you go.
Put them both together. Bring all that glory into one slice.
And regret your life decisions for the rest of the evening.
I tell you what, man, there are times where that CC's buffet is it's a
man, I didn't know that was going to be such a hot button issue, but I'm glad I pushed it.
Yep. I'm glad I found that button anyway. Yeah. Boy,
now you know.
Now you know. Yeah. I love both of those pizzas. And will gladly take gift cards to either one of those places at any point in time throughout the year. I may or may not have a birthday coming up soon. So, if those things want to come my way, I'm cool. But no, man, I'm good, dude. Like just in a really sweet season right now. Excited about a lot of stuff going on, and certainly excited about what we're able to do with this podcast, man, and connecting. And what about you, man? What's new? Anything? I mean, I know you're in a busy season right now, certainly gearing up toward Easter and everything else going on.
Yeah. Things are blowing and going. We're seeing folks reach back out. There's an interesting thing that we were just talking about in an update meeting with some of the other pastors on our team about we're seeing more guests return, or more folks who haven't been in church since COVID, like coming back.
Interesting.
Like 2 years later, you're just now starting to get back into church. I mean, and on the one hand, we're grateful. On the other hand, we're saying, what took so long?
Man, seriously.
But also assessing, hey, what do we need to do to ensure that we still have space for our people, and for guests to come as well. And I was a little shocked, all honesty, today as we were talking about it, that we have a higher percentage of seats filled than I first thought.
Wow.
So it's a good thing, but at the same time, it's a okay, well, we got to figure out what we're going to do. Because we don't want to get to the point where guests stop coming because we don't have room for them.
All good problems to have, brother.
Oh, for sure. But just kind of working through all those things and thinking toward Easter and about other things. And then, like always, like a couple weeks ago, we had goofy stuff happen with some of our tech stuff and needing to replace some gear and a few other things. And so trying to run all those things down and get those up and going before Easter. Because I don't want to have major updates and upgrades the week before Easter and pray it works.
So
busy season.
Never a good place. That's Ministry 101, guys. If you don't know that yet, then you just got your money's worth out of this podcast.
Right. I just dropped a truth bomb on you right there. Just don't upgrade anything the week before Easter.
Or Christmas. That is not these are not the weeks to be messing around with your situation. But just making sure everything works.
I am working with a guy trying to get our pyrotechnics in line so that we can blow the stone off the tomb.
Do you remember last year's episode for Easter? We did that big fail episode, and we talked through all those videos, man, of like that church like caught on fire of them trying to do this, and people just like that dude's gonna keep rocking this cantata. He is not going. He's just getting after it, and like, nah, man, like half your stage is on fire, bro. Like that's not part of the plan.
So we're working on that. We're trying to up our game, have a little pyrotechnics for Easter.
I love it, man. That's great. Just you got to reach people where they're at, baby.
That's right.
Whatever it takes. That's exciting, man. Listen, pastor, leader, volunteer, whatever role you're in, elder, man, whatever role you find yourself in the life of your church. We're so pumped that you're here and being a part of this, man. We're 60 episodes into this journey of helping you simplify your life and ministry. And man, this year we're really tackling and focusing on some of these really kind of smaller problems, things that aren't necessarily super ethereal or super conceptual, but things that are just very much like, man, this is real and right now in the life of an everyday pastor. And we want to make sure that we're trying to scratch where you guys are itching in hopes that we can help you just be more effective in fulfilling the call that God has placed on your life. And so particularly in today's episode, this is one of those episodes where it does not matter your role in the church. If you are leading people, if you are overseeing a team, ever how big it is, this is such a great episode for you because we're talking about 4 key strategies to invest in your ministry team. And so if you are the lead guy and you've got staff under you, or if you're just, you're overseeing student ministry, or you're overseeing the hospitality ministry, or you're an elder that is in charge of, spiritual care over a lot of people, this is an episode that is certainly designed for you. And so we're going to kind of be talking through today these 4 key strategies, and I'm excited to see where this conversation takes us, and hopes that when this is all done, you've got 4 tools to put in your belt, and then, to be able to set out and go be more effective at what you're doing. And then we're going to talk through, an additional resource or two that might be helpful in executing some of these strategies in your particular ministry. So we're going to jump into that conversation out the gate. And so if we're talking about these 4 key strategies to invest in your ministry team, I would argue, and Greg, I'll be interested to take your thoughts on this, man, because I feel like the most important key to this whole thing that it kind of rests on is recognizing the importance. I think that's the first key strategy is to solidify a culture that says that investing is important. And so the idea is that investing in your ministry staff, if you're leading a ministry staff, or if you're leading a team of volunteers, regardless of what that looks like, that investing in those folks is vital for building out a strong and impactful church community. Right? It's vital. And what you have to understand ultimately, and why I'm making this the first key is that the growth and success a lot of times of our ministry, is the Holy Spirit in the middle of all of that? 100%. Is God in charge of ultimately sovereignly, moving in our churches? Yes. But a lot of times when it gets down to like the grassroots of what we're trying to do, man, growth in our ministries is largely dependent on the individuals who serve in it or who oversee it. And so I would argue, man, that the first key to all of this is building out this idea that this is important. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I have found, and it has taken me a number of years to get there, and lots of fails along the way. But one of the shifts that I've tried to make over the last 7 or 8 years, and even again doubling down on it this last year and going into the new year of 2024, of saying, who am I investing in, and saying what you do is important.
Oh man, that's huge,
because there's only one of me.
Yeah.
Revelation, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, my influence is probably, yes, larger than most in my context,
right?
But my my real ability to influence is still limited by the number of hours in the day.
Come on, man.
And so how do I most leverage that that influence and that ability to speak into and to develop others? And so, yeah, relooking and orienting and saying, man, this is so important. I have to invest in those who are leading teams, those who are serving with me on teams that I lead, because I can't do it on my own, and I shouldn't do it on my own. But if we're honest, most of us who are in ministry, especially vocationally, we tend to at least try to do it on our own.
Oh man.
And then just like pull volunteers along with us in the places where we can't, or when we think it looks good to bring volunteers, but we really want to just do it ourselves because it's faster or easier or fill in the blank.
Yeah.
But instead leveraging it and saying, no, man, like, this thing is so important. Number one, I can't do it by myself, so I'm not even going to try. But those who are doing it or doing it with me are so important, and investing in them is so important, that I must. And so, yeah, finding that value and being able to say, man, this is important. It's too important for me not to do it.
Yeah, it goes a long way, man, because I think what ends up happening, like you said, is we do try to get in that spot where it is sometimes easier for us to do it ourselves, especially if we're having trouble finding people that can even do it at a level that we can do it.
Right.
It can be really challenging. But I think even like further beyond that, like what I'm hearing you say is you're making this a priority to continue to ask this question because it's paramount to the long-term success of what you're trying to accomplish.
Sure.
And if you don't have this culturally, this idea that like, no, this is important, then it's never going to be something that's sustainable. Like you're always going to be chasing the 8 ball.
Yep.
And trying to develop people in your team and trying to launch new teams, especially. And ultimately what it does is it creates a gap between us and our people to the point where people don't want to serve anymore because it's not exciting. Right. And particularly on the staffing side, my goodness, man, if we're not, if we're leading staff members at our church, especially, and we're not taking the time to personally invest in them and recognizing the ongoing importance of that, then over time, the work and the responsibility can become so overwhelming and cumbersome that we begin to feel isolated. We begin to feel undervalued. We begin to feel like that there's not space for me to come and be honest about what I'm wrestling with because we're not sensing that this is important to anybody other than me. So I think this is really paramount, man.
Yeah. Well, and that's the moment when they start looking at the job boards.
Yeah, seriously, they do. Yeah. And it trickles all the way down too, right? Like even into volunteer teams where folks are like, one Sunday you've got this dynamite volunteer, and then the next Sunday they're like, hey, listen, I can't do this anymore. Yep. And you're like, wait, what? Like, what is happening? So that, we don't want to beat a dead horse here, but it's just coming back to this place of you have to recognize the importance of investing. And if this doesn't become a part of your heartbeat, your rhythm, your overall influence as a leader, then these other strategies that we're going to give you today, they're never going to stick.
That's right.
And these things have to be sticky. And that comes first and foremost in establishing that foundation. I would say that the second key strategy in all of this, it comes down to kind of twofold. One is assessing needs and building relationships. And so here's what I mean by that. Taking time to regularly, and I mean, build this out, whether that's in one-on-ones or it's in monthly sit-downs or in quarterly trainings, whatever that looks like contextually, taking time to assess the unique needs of your team members, right? Like your team members have needs that are going on, and needs in helping them execute their job, helping them perform well. But we've got to take time to assess those needs, and you can do that through a couple of ways. You can conduct performance reviews. You can do team building exercises. You can do all sorts of things that allow you to help better understand strengths and weaknesses, aspirations and goals. Like this is an important thing to do in building out and assessing needs. For you, when you're trying to build in and invest into people that you're coming alongside and that you're doing ministry with, how do you, like, just practically, and again, people have all different sorts of ways of doing this, but how do you take time to regularly assess needs?
Yeah. So I try to do a couple of things. First, I do try to make sure that I'm available.
Yeah, that's good, man.
And I can't always be, but like when folks who are leading ministry teams, or when key volunteers are, reaching out and saying, "Hey, do you have time?"
Right.
I try to have my yes on the table for them.
I like that, man. It's good.
And sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's, I can't do it this week. Can we connect next week? Or is it urgent? Is it, I need to clear my calendar to have this conversation? I think some of it, especially for volunteers, is simply saying, "Hey, can we grab lunch? Can I come by and have coffee with you? Can we do breakfast or whatever, to create that space for conversations to happen?" Because what I found is that in the middle of serving, in most circumstances, you can't talk then. You can't get a feel for what's going on, for what the need is, for how they're doing in those moments. And so kind of creating those opportunities to connect and leverage. And then another thing that has been super helpful, and again, I don't do it every time, and I should be better about it, but I'm not. But even just like a weekly text to my staff team, to my custodial crew, "Hey, just thinking through the week and praying for you. Is there anything you need? How can I help you?" Or, "Hey, you're killing it. You've just been doing a great job. And so I want to take you to lunch just to celebrate," or, whatever. So I think there are lots of ways that we can do that. And if you're constantly looking and constantly assessing, then the hard conversations become easier.
Yeah.
Because they're in the moment and not things that have been, snowballing. And you've been putting off the hard conversation, and now it's a really hard conversation. Instead of, "Hey, that didn't get done. Why didn't it get done? Okay, great. Let's make sure it gets done and let's go on." Way easier in the moment than 6 months later. "Hey, you still haven't finished this project, and I've asked you about it a dozen times. Why isn't it done?"
Right.
And so I think that assessing process and simply having those touch points makes it easier. And again, I don't always get it done, and I don't always do it right. But setting up some of those things just to say, how can I touch my people and make sure that I'm connecting with them on the regular, so that the dialogue is happening and I'm accessible to them.
Well, it goes a long way too, man, because I think it communicates, right? And what it says to your folks is that you care about them, and that what they're doing is important, and that you find them valuable to this overall ministry. And it's not just like you find them valuable in helping, like that they're just helping you do what you came there to do, but rather it's like, no, man, like if Ephesians 4 is correct, then God has pre-planned works in advance, and I'm trying to equip you to do that. And if there's something you need to be better equipped so that you can fulfill your role in the kingdom and the church,
Right.
then I want to help you do that. And so sometimes this is less about just trying to like placate a team or keep people like quote unquote happy or whatever. It's about understanding that the role that people are serving in is much larger than the opportunity you think you've created for them.
Oh,
But
sure.
rather, you're simply trying to get yourself out of the way to help equip people to do the things that God has already planned for them to do. And so, I mean, I think just that regular pulse of checking on folks, assessing what are we doing really well? What are we not doing well? I mean, this just reminds me, man, like we did a couple episodes ago. We did a whole episode on like the 4 most important questions every leader needs to ask. This is a great exemplification of that. That by giving people space to speak in, it builds greater buy-in. It builds greater connection to the overall ministry in the church. And I think also it brings us to kind of the second part of this, which, assess needs, but also build relationships. Mm-hmm. That's the second part of the strategy to investing in your team is building relationships, strengthening relationships among your team. It fosters a much greater collaborative spirit. And it lets people know that this is not about people just filling a spot. Like, oh, I needed a volunteer for this, and this person's going to do it, and I guess we teach them how to do it, and we give them a name badge, and off you go. Right. But no, like we're building out meaningful relationships with the people that we're leading or that we're serving beside. So, again, if you're a lead person and you're in charge of a staff, building relationships amongst your staff, amongst your team is critical. Amongst their families is critical, sure. Right? Because you're not just their boss; you are also their pastor. Right. And they need to know that. They need to sense that in that relationship. But if you're leading a team of volunteers, those people need to know that they're part of a family, yep. And this is not a business. This is not a non-for-profit. Like this is a family, a community of faith, and you've got to be able to build that up. And I really appreciate kind of your vulnerability on that, because I think continuing to keep trying to move the ball down the field is critical for the success of this.
It is, and it's not easy work, and we don't always get it right. I like everybody. If I can avoid a hard conversation, sometimes I'll do it.
Right.
But then in other moments, you do have those opportunities as you've built those relationships or as you're developing those relationships to be able to say, you know what, like I had it happen yesterday, right before, between rehearsal and warm up and worship. One of my tech guys was tweaking a couple of things, and he was asking me about it. I said, well, it should have been set, but he said, well, I tweaked it a little bit. I said, I trust you. Go for it. Like, I trust your judgment.
Yeah.
I know that you know what you're doing. If we need to tweak it again later, we will. Like, it'll be okay. But instead of what I probably would have done, certainly in my younger years, is I would have said, hey, okay, just get out of my way. Let me put it back where it was.
Yep.
But instead be able to say, you know what, I trust you, and you're a valuable part of our team. So you do what you think you need to do to produce the best product that you possibly can when we gather for worship. And then if we need to assess on the backside and work it out, we will. And you know what, from best I can tell, it worked out well.
Yeah.
So you know what, we go with it. And so building those relationships, allowing for those kind of things to happen. And then we've said it before, but man, figure out ways to just hang out and play with your team.
Oh yeah.
Because they need to see that you're real, that you're a person, and that you can simply, hang out with them, no agenda, simply to get to know them. That's huge,
man. I love that, dude. I think that illustration is so great too, of just, I trust you. That statement alone carries so much weight and has the potential to absolutely revolutionize someone's understanding of what they're doing as being a part of this team and part of this process. You are a valuable member of this team. I trust you. Man, like just that statement alone is so life-giving. That there are plenty. Gosh, I'd hate to overgeneralize, but I'd like to think, just based on my previous experiences in ministry, there have got to be plenty of folks out there that they've never even heard that in their own jobs. They may have never even heard that growing up. But to be in a situation like this where they're doing what is seemingly a small role or small task, or even leading maybe it's a youth guy or a worship guy or whatever, you're a children's pastor, and maybe, you're leading this large ministry and no one's ever told you, hey, I just want you to know, I trust you. I trust what you're doing and I'm proud of you. And I'll take your advice on this. Oh my gosh. That goes a long way, man. I love that. So yeah, those are kind of the first two, right? So we want to recognize the importance. We want to build out a culture of that. Secondly, we want to assess needs. We want to build relationships. Those are two easy strategies that you can implement. The third one is to prioritize training and development. This one I cannot stress enough. Like, we have got to be as intentional as we can to continually provide training, workshops, opportunities for development, opportunities that are kind of specifically tailored for different roles on your team, different sets of responsibilities on your team. And so whether that's like, hey, all the folks that run the check-in desk in our kids ministry, we're going to do just twice a year, we're going to get together and just walk through that process. And it's a chance to ask the 4 questions. It's also a chance to assess, is it going well? Is it not going well? It's a chance to fix some behavior. Also, like, hey, we've gotten kind of laxed on checking tickets when parents get, coming to pick up kids or whatever it is.
Right.
I mean, plug in whatever ministry this is. We have to prioritize training and development, because that, man, it gives people life. And it also allows your team to stay updated on the latest ministry trends,
right,
things that are happening, like different leadership principles, things, tools that allow folks that are leading to effectively navigate change that's occurring. And so we've got to be able to do that. And so sometimes, when we're in a leadership role, we're trying to turn the ship in a direction to the left, and we're yelling down, hard left, more coal. And people have no idea how to do that.
Right.
It's just, we're not training them or developing them to make those pivots in whatever team that they're in. And now people think you're crazy because, like, what are you talking? Like, I don't know how to do that. And so that ruins people's confidence, right?
For sure. I think it's important for us to build in those training opportunities, leverage them, know what our own limitations are. Perhaps the best training that we can actually offer is to send our people somewhere.
Yep.
Or to bring someone in who can provide that training that we can't, or even maybe we can, but I found that there is a certain level at which my people become deaf to the things that I'm telling them. Because I've told them so many times, but as soon as somebody else comes in and tells them the same thing that I've been telling them for however long, they hear it and they get it and they begin to do it. And you know what? I don't care why they began to do it as long as they begin to do it.
Yeah. I don't need the credit for it. Just do it.
Yeah. And so I think, making sure that you're doing that, but I think also you can do it at the smaller level as well. If you're training your people and telling them, hey, not only do I want you to know how and be able to do how, but I also want you to be able to teach someone else how. And so having those moments where you can say, we're trying to build in a culture of you inviting people into ministry with you.
Oh man, that's good.
If you're a greeter, invite somebody to be a greeter with you next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Help them know what to do. Hey, we do this. And we tell folks, hey, here's the QR code that you can scan if you're a guest so that you can tell us that you were here. Here's the person that you can take them to at the information desk that will help them get to a Bible study class, or to help them get into the worship center, or how to check their kid in, or whatever it is. But being able to say, we want you to have enough information to not only to do what you're tasked with doing, but also to train somebody else how to do it. And giving them that, I think, makes them then want to come for training and want them to come and get that additional knowledge and development so that they can be developing others. And so figuring out ways to leverage that has been really important for us. And we're trying to keep spinning that out so that training becomes a thing that people want to be part of and not something they feel obligated to come be part of.
Yeah. And I think also just making sure that the training material that we are, using, or the times that we're taking to train, that it's actually well done. where like, I don't know, man, like over the years and stuff, how like sometimes you go to a conference or whatever and you go to a breakout because you're like, man, I can't wait for this breakout. It's really the reason why I'm going to this conference, because I want to go to this breakout. And you go to it and you're like, well, this is a disaster. Like this, that was an hour and a half. I'll never get back.
I could have been out in the hallway drinking coffee.
Yeah. I could have been asleep in my car, which is sometimes is all you want ministry is just a power nap by yourself in your car in some, rogue parking lot. Like that's just what you're looking for. Right. It's the small wins, guys. You know what I'm talking about. But we got to make sure that these trainings are helpful and that they're done well and that it's no nonsense, right? Like we're here to talk about 2 or 3 key things. And we're going to get you in, we're going to get you out, but we're going to leave time for questions. Yep. And so if you've got questions, let's connect over coffee afterwards. Let's continue the dialogue. Also bringing some of your key people into those conversations for training and development. And so like, for instance, if you've got a creative arts pastor on staff, or you have a communications director on staff, whatever it is, depending on the size of your church, and you're going to send them off for a training, I think that's great, like a conference or whatever, but maybe build into your budget and have the question of, hey, is there somebody else on your team that would benefit from this? Are there 2 other people? Like as a church, if they cover their own food, we'll cover their travel and ticket costs.
Right.
And we'll send them. And so it's that same idea of bringing other people into the to the experience. But man, we've got to say as a church, we believe in building others up. We believe in developing. We believe in equipping. And equipping is more than just giving you the opportunity to do something. It's giving you the tools to do it.
Absolutely.
So that's where we've got to be diligent in that. So regardless of the role that you're in, always look for ways to build out additional training, additional opportunities. And yeah, is it time consuming? Yes. Is it hard to get everybody in the same spot? Like, yes. And I totally get that. You're like, oh my gosh, this is going to take like 3 nights to do this. Yeah. And it may require that, but there are some other creative solutions. We talked about, as we kicked off the episode, like looking at some resources that can be helpful in implementing this. And I tell you, I came across a resource that I thought, man, you talk about a way to take the idea of development and training to a whole new level within your church where you can tailor it, is through Ministry Grid.
Sure.
I've not personally used it, but I've been looking into it because this resource was suggested to me, and I'm like, man, I've never heard of this thing before. I want to check into it, and just out of curiosity, like I'm just curious, like how does this thing work, and why has it been so successful? They got 40,000 plus, different organizations using this thing, and yeah, so ministrygrid.com, which we're not sponsored by yet, but it's really cool, man. Discipleship at your church's fingertips. You can build customizable content. You can design personal discipleship experiences for people on that end of it. Also, you can upload training videos. You can upload pathways, things that people can watch at their own pace when they're joining something. So, I mean, just imagine with me for a second, Gregory, if somebody wanted to join your tech team and they're like, man, I want to get involved, but it seems a little overwhelming, which it does, right? Like you see all the shiny buttons and faders and all kinds of switches, which, to me, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I just want to go back there and press stuff. I'm not the guy you want on your team, but somebody gets excited about being on this team. And what if you could say to them, yeah, hey, I'm going to send you an email link, and it's going to have 4 kind of short videos that will onboard you into what we do back here. And then if you still want to move forward, let's grab coffee and talk about that. But man, like you've given them access to some resources that will really help shape the conversation, or ongoing. You can do that for ongoing training. You can do that for your staff. You can do it for your kids, volunteers, for students, right? So I think just prioritizing this is such a strategy that you can implement in your church that will revolutionize how people think about involvement long term. The last and fourth key strategy to invest into your team is this, and I mean, gosh, man, right? Some of the stuff isn't like rocket science, but it's so incredibly vital, and that's to support the well-being of your people and spend time recognizing them. Mm-hmm. And so here's what I mean by that. It's kind of twofold, right? So like if you're leading volunteer teams, more than just like, hey, how's your ministry going? Hey, how's hospitality team? How's coffee bar? How's the parking lot team? More, how are you doing in that? How's that going? Are you enjoying it? Is it success? Blah, 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 blah. It's more than that. It's more like, hey man, hey John, how's Tiffany doing right now? I mean, I know that she's had a lot going on with work. Like, how are you guys doing? And you sniff around trying to see how people are actually really doing in their family, and you're like, you know
For
what?
sure.
I need to kick this guy a gift card. Like, I'm gonna hook his family up with a DoorDash gift card. And you're just trying to support the well-being of their family. Or, man, they just sound really stressed and exhausted. And this dude's been a rock star volunteer for the last year. And hey, bro, I want you to take the month of April off. And then also, like, here's a $150 hotels.com gift card, like, for you and your wife to get away. And just go on a date and enjoy each other. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, these are ways that you can support the well-being. On the staffing side, right? Like, Greg, when we start thinking about, because you lead other folks on a team, when you think about the staffing side of supporting the well-being of a staff, what's that look like for you?
So it's several things. It is evaluating, do we pay them what we should?
That's good, man.
And let's be real, in most churches, it's not what you should.
Right.
Because you can't pay what you should.
Right.
But are you paying what you can?
Oh, dude.
And even maybe slightly beyond what you can, to say we can't do what we want to do, but this we're going to do our best to do.
That's really strong, dude.
So I think that's huge. One of the other things, and it's personnel team 101. It's staff leading 101, or at least it should be in church world, especially. Man, it doesn't cost the church anything,
right,
to give people time.
Man,
like, it just doesn't. And so being able to say, you know what, man, I so appreciate what you're doing. You're killing it. I don't want to see you tomorrow, or I don't want to see you next week. And not because I don't physically want to see you, but because you deserve some time,
right,
to just go rest or go do whatever you want to do. Those kind of things, or when it's, hey, I'm seeing you are worn out and you are not getting stuff done like you normally would get done. Take a couple of days.
Yep.
Let's start fresh next week,
yep.
or whatever it is. But that doesn't cost the church really anything.
Yeah,
to be able to have those moments.
But you stand to gain a whole lot.
Oh, absolutely. And being able to do some of those things. And let's not forget the overwhelming value in being able to say, you know what, I can't do it for everyone every time or even every year, but I can do it right now for this one.
Yeah, man.
As much as, I have other beefs with it, I'm going to give it the credit that it deserves. I think I heard that from Andy Stanley.
Yeah, I've heard that too. And all that aside, he's right.
Right. He's right.
You do for one what you wish you could do for all.
Right. And so being able to say, you know what, in this moment, yeah, we're going to do this for that staff person, or for that, just high level volunteer, because we wish that we could do it for everybody, but we can't. And so we are going to do it for this one because we can.
Yeah.
And so trying to reevaluate and not make it all about we can't do that, so we won't do anything.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah.
Which I think a lot of churches feel trapped.
Yes.
In that. And then one of the things that we're working on hard, and I know it seems super businessy, but in the long term, especially for ministry, I think it has huge impact and will show your staff that you care, to be able to say, we're going to do pay scales.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And beginning to say, for this job, you should make between this and this. And depending on performance and needs and all those kind of things, we'll assess how you fall in this pay scale, longevity and all of those kind of things, so that raises, when they come, aren't so subjective. They're not willy-nilly. And there's not the overwhelming felt need from the personnel team or the finance team to make it equitable.
Yeah.
Every time.
Good.
Because I found that more often than not, on the church staffs that I've served on and led teams on, salaries and raises, no's happen because the number becomes overwhelming, because you try to do for everyone every time.
Yeah.
And you just can't.
And then you end up doing practically nothing for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's not good, man.
And so being able to take those moments and do some of those things and giving, giving that time off, giving, in church leader, if you're a part of the personnel team, man, entrust your staff supervisor, whether that's the lead pastor or the administrative pastor or just the administrator, wherever they fall, giving them permission to tell, to tell the other employees, hey, take the afternoon off.
Yes.
Or take that day off. I know it's not on your holiday calendar, but take it off. Give them permission to do that. It will change the culture of your staff team.
Man, one of my favorite things to do when I was I used to be a family pastor, in a previous life, but in that role, I got to oversee a few different staff people on my team, and one of my favorite things to do is anytime we had like a huge family ministry event or where it was all hands on deck, or if middle school or high school ministry had done like a huge event or gone to, a church camp or anything like that, or, kids ministry had VBS or whatever it looked like. One of my favorite things to do was to not only bring those people together and just like reward them and thank them for their hard work, but to then just say, hey, guess what? You're done. Like, you get to take the next couple of days off and reward that. Like, here's a gift card to go out to eat or whatever. But that was one of my favorite things to do. It was because it was like, man, I would love to be able to do more for you, but I'm certainly going to do something that's meaningful.
Right.
And to give people that time off, it felt so good. It felt so fulfilling to be able to do those kind of things. And I love that. I always thought that was such a beautiful way of honoring people and saying that, like, man, go rest now, go to a movie, go do something. Or let's all go out and go do an escape room or something together.
Right.
Let's just go have fun. So I think you're exactly right, man. Like, you have to support the well-being of your team, regardless of the role that you're in. And those little gestures go a long way, especially when they don't impact the bottom line of your church's overall budget.
For sure.
Just by saying, I'm going to give you some time. And that, my goodness, is really, really, it's really rewarding. And I think that's part of it too, is not only supporting their well-being, but also recognizing people. So taking time to be intentional. And we've talked about this several times, so I'm not going to jump too far into this, but it is about building out a culture and having a strategy of recognizing people on the regular. And so, can you recognize every single volunteer for being a rock star? No, but wouldn't you rather have a culture in your church that people are always trying to like raise the bar and do more so that you can recognize people? Yeah, of course, but doing big recognition events where you bless all volunteers through an evening where it's a meal and you're sharing stories and that kind of stuff. That stuff's awesome. But even just writing a simple note that says, hey, I see what you're doing. I know the work you put in and it matters. And I want you to know specifically that when you did this, or you talked to this person, or you helped out here, this is the impact that it made. Yep. And I think it's just so easy to not do those things that we miss the power of it.
Oh, for sure. Well,
the power.
And just another thing, and it's something that we try to do for a variety of reasons. But don't miss out on the impact and the power of having people in your home.
Yeah, man, that's good.
Whether it's, hey, come over for dessert, or come over for lunch, or come over for dinner, or just come over and hang out.
Drink some bourbon, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is. And inviting people to your home is huge.
Yes, it is.
And so, take that, and that really doesn't cost a whole lot.
No.
I mean, if you're going to, grill hamburgers, you know what? A couple more hamburgers isn't going to cost you really anything. And just say, come on, why don't you come eat with us? Come to dinner. Or even if you're doing a nice dinner, I mean, you were going to feed your family anyway.
Right.
So feeding a few more folks, probably, now maybe you can't do it every week or every couple of weeks, but there again, can you be intentional with those volunteers and with those staff folks and with those people that are close and integral to your ministry? Like, can you, invite them in?
Especially during the summer months, man, we're like that culture to grill out is already there anyway. And also you talk about like, a few burgers isn't that much more expensive. You've never seen me eat cheeseburgers. So,
well, okay. Notwithstanding, Mike,
say, man, I'll put a dent in that grocery budget.
Hey, bro, I'm just telling you, like when the smoke is rolling in the smoker.
Oh man. That's
It's
what
a
heaven
good-
smells like. It has to.
It's a good day.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm getting all salivating right now, thinking
Getting all
about
emotional.
thinking about some brisket.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
calling
I
my
mean,
name.
and even think about like this, like what if you build like into your budget, like every year, a little bit of money to do this kind of stuff, like recognizing that maybe things are tight for you as a family. We get that. But what if you build in your budget? Hey, 4 times a year, I'm going to spend some money out of my budget to feed my volunteers really well. You
Yep.
could do that at your house.
For sure.
Go for it, man. Like, I just think those like there are simple solutions here. But yeah, I think all of that's really, really good, man. I think, again, this is all about building out a sustainable culture in your church. And the whole point of today's episode was to give you 4 key strategies to invest into your team. And to invest into your staff, to invest into those that you're leading, whatever that looks like. Like, this is all scalable based on your particular context.
Yep.
And we believe that in doing this, it creates sustainable change and it creates such a greater dividend in the end of building out such a healthy culture that people want to be a part of. And that's what you're looking for. You're
100%.
looking for a place that, like, man, I want to serve on that team. I want to serve under that guy. I want to work for that guy. I want to do those things because, man, those folks get it. Are they perfect? No. Are we batting 1,000? Probably not. But is it healthy? Is it special? Is it life-giving? Man, that's huge. And I wanted us to dive into some of these today because I know they can be super helpful. And the reality is, there's much more to be said about this conversation. And there's a ton of different resources that are out there. Again, man, check out ministrygrid.com. But also, if you head over to the simplifiedchurch.com website and you click under resources, we've got such an incredible resource for you. It's free. It's 100% free. It's an ebook that allows you to increase effectiveness at your church. And so it's a how-to guide on strategic planning for your church. So the idea is, learning how to be more effective, more vision-centered, so you can kind of get the entire team moving in the right direction. And that's a free resource that we would love to give you. Also, we understand that being effective in these areas, especially talking about, are we compensating well? Are we budgeting well? Man, these are all important conversations to have. And at Simplified Church, we are kind of the budget experts and the bookkeeping experts for your ministry. And so we'd love to have a conversation on how we can simplify your ministry, how we can help get you in that direction of budgeting well and planning well, so that you can live, kind of carefree when it comes to some of these budget realities that play out in the life of your church. And so we'd love for you to head over to our website. We'd love to give you a quote and talk about how we can partner with you and simplify bookkeeping in your church. But man, go over to the website and download that free ebook. It's in the show notes as well if you want to pick it up there. We'd love to be able to resource you. But man, this is what we're about, gang. We're about resourcing everyday pastors just like you. And we hope that today was no different. Greg, always good to see your beautiful face, my man. Always good. Look at you. Yeah, that's the beard. His beard's looking good. Yeah, it's looking nice. Do you trim it up lately?
It's been a little bit, but yeah, it's shorter than normal.
Shorter than you'd like it to be is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes, but my wife likes it, and
that's all that matters.
And all the husbands said, "Amen."
Amen. All right, gang. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next week.